Unrepaired. 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 So apparently this is no power. And it's been to CEX. They couldn't fix it, so they sent it back as no fix. But let's be honest, what can CEX do? And just to show you that it is indeed a CEX console, that is the sticker that I've just removed. JB191526, that's the tech centre it went to. We like CEX consoles. CEX offer repair services. Well, I'll say offer repair services loosely because there's not really a lot that they do. They do HDMI ports, power supplies, and that is pretty much it. But they offer all sorts of things like blue light of death and HDMI no display and all of this stuff. But they can't actually do most of the jobs that they offer. So they just waste the customer's time having customers send it in when realistically they're never going to be able to fix it. So let's see what the deal is, shall we? This one is probably going to make a video, so if you are new to the channel and you like this type of content, I would really appreciate it if you hit subscribe and turn on the bell notifications, and that way you don't miss any future videos. Do you work for CEX? Hell no. Cheers, Ellis. Thanks, dude. So, yeah, this is probably going to make a video, whether I fix it or not. But, yeah, it's been to CEX. Whenever they go to CEX and they come back unfixable or unfixed, they put them in these bags that say unrepaired. So the customer hasn't actually told me that CEX have worked on this or looked at this. But I just know their bags. I know their unrepaired sticker. So even though it's a generic sticker, they do always come with the tech center ID number and stuff with them. So I'll just know their what do you call it? Can you catch the mouse for me? I need it for my steak. What mouse? What are you on about? There's no mouse in here. If Phil worked at CEX, he'd show them all up. Probably. And that's not me being big-headed. Right, anyway. Let's see what's going on. We told you there was a mouse. There's no mouse, man. What are you on about? Show me a timestamp of where there was a mouse. What do you control your PC with? Yes, there is a mouse. And it's called my PC. My PC mouse. But I can tell you something. There is not a mouse in this workshop. It was on your desk. Definitely not. Apart from this one. You pricks. Oh dear. So now I prefer Twitch. I prefer Twitch chat tonight now. You can all bollocks. It's there. Twitch tells lies, we're honest. No, I believe Twitch. I don't believe YouTube. YouTube viewers are liars. Say it as you see it, yeah. So leave me alone, let me make my video, alright? I've got bills to pay. These are nice consoles. These Xboxes are really nice. I like these white ones. Like the One X. I like the One X. It reminds me of the SNES. I don't know why, it just reminds me of the SNES. Taylor, how's it going, mate? Is Twitch better than YouTube? I have no favourite, but tonight Twitch chat is better than YouTube. Because Twitch chat don't lie to me. See? Frozen Gunner on Twitch, he said PooTube. There you go. Twitch are all stoned, so they don't count. He has to earn money to feed his mouse. You can have a zoomed in fucking finger. I actually lost 5 viewers by slagging off YouTube's chat. No, but if you wasn't here earlier, talking of Twitch, if you wasn't here earlier on, I was talking about something that Uber Micro Repairs mentioned, what he does, what he's been doing lately. So I recommend checking Uber Micro Repairs out, by the way. But what he does, and what I'm going to be copying, is he posts videos to YouTube, and he does stream on YouTube. But what I'm going to start doing, when I'm filming a video from next week, I'm going to be filming the video as I normally would. But I'm also going to be streaming it behind the scenes on Twitch. And that's going to be some exclusive content for Twitch. Right, I'm going to try a power supply because never determine you've got a board issue until you know you've not got a power supply issue. So let's try a power supply. Yeah, this one's a bit dusty. So I don't think I've even done much on this apart from probably try a power supply. But let's try a PSU, just to rule it out. Nope. Nope. Okay, it's not the power supply, that's fine. Here's the question, is it the disk drive? Is it the power button? Well, there's a disc stuck in there, so I don't know. Probably not. The power buttons, they just really don't go bad often enough. Like, I've probably had to change one or two. Most of the time it's because of drop damage. What do you think's wrong off the bat? Probably the retimer. I'm bombarding you in the Twitch chat box. Well, thank you, mate. I appreciate that. Probably the retimer, if I'm being honest. It normally is. I did have one the other day. It was really bad. I actually went to record and I went live by accident, and it was there was a massive blowhole here. It was really, really bad. But most of the time on these, when you've got no power, it's down to the retimer. It's when you've got a short on the 5-volt line, because it pulls the 5-volt line down to ground. And if it pulls the 5-volt line down to ground, then it pulls the 3.3-volt line down to ground as well. Which means you've got no standby voltage for the power button, so it can't turn on. Actually, no, I think it's a 1.8-volt line. I could be wrong there. It could be the one. I think it's a 1.8-volt line on the retimer. I'm sure the retimer only takes 1.8 volt. But either way, it needs 1.8 volt to attempt to turn on. But there is a 5-volt line on the HDMI encoder as well, I think. So it could be either of them. I'm not 100% certain, but normally it's a HDMI encoder issue. That clamp's never been off before, by the way. Right, where be my retimer? I'm way off. Alright, so the HDMI encoder's there, so that's never been changed. That is a factory HDMI encoder. So I'm going to check C50 in diode mode. Red probe on ground. Oh, shut up, multimeter. Turn the beeper off. So CEX have not touched it. They haven't done much to it. And we get 0.14 volt drop to ground on C50. Is this better? Yes, it is indeed. Welcome to Twitch. Don't forget to subscribe on Twitch if you've got Amazon Prime. It's free. Right, I'm going to check my resistance. You get a better understanding of what's going on in resistance mode, to be honest, rather than using diode mode. So I'm expecting around about 10,000 ohms here. And I'm getting 0.94 thousand ohms, so 940,000 ohms. That is low, but not low enough to be causing a short, I would imagine. That's interesting, actually. That is interesting. So let's have a look on my 5-volt lines, because that's a bit too high to be saying that it's bad. It might not be. So pin 19. Pin 19 is coming up overload. Pin 18 is coming up 3 million ohms. So it could still be the encoder. That's way too high of a resistance reading. Something's not right. I've never found U21 to be the cause of no power, but it could be that. C25 is linked directly to C50. But yeah, less than 1,000 ohms. It's a strange reading, but it's not. Oh, 52 million ohms. Wow. That is incredibly high. It shouldn't be nowhere near 52 million ohms. This might be an ESD issue. If it's going to be an ESD issue, then it's like it could have an ESD issue, because that's basically open line. 54 million ohms. That's basically open line. So what I'm thinking is the ESD IC might be bad, but that's not going to be the no power cause. I'm thinking this has took some sort of a lightning strike or something, and it's taken out the encoder and the ESD IC. So yeah, even though C50 is coming up with 1,000 ohms, I think that's too low, and I am going to flick that chip off and put a new one on, just because that's very, very low. It's always a redriver, except when it's not. It's always a redriver until it's not. Right, let me get some flux. So we should be expecting between 3 and 10,000 ohms on C50. Not 1,000 ohms, or just under 1,000 ohms. $234 watching, 179 likes. Don't forget to like the smash button, ladies and gents. God damn it. These chips can be a bitch to get off. No, I've had different causes, Phil. I've had plenty of different causes of no power on these. The Ethernet port, that goes bad. Or rather the Ethernet circuit, that goes bad. 3.3 volt line can fail. MOSFETs, safe bridge. I've had loads of different causes. This is going to be one of those pain in the arse encoders to get off, isn't it? I might need to take my nozzle off for this one. Take my nozzle off for this one. Do it from directly overhead. There you go. So the problem people have with these is they get too impatient and they start yanking at it, and that's how traces get torn. If you do struggle with these, just go from overhead. Take your nozzle off and go from overhead with no microscope. And trust me, it will come off a lot easier. These chips are a pain in the arse, because it gets so hot in that area So they just weld themselves to the board. Beep. I said beep, you bastard. Thank you. Right. Using a tip that's way too big for the board or for the area. But yeah, if you just take your nozzle off and just hover the heat over the top of it, you'll get it off. It can be difficult sometimes, but most of the time it works. Right, let me grab our new retimer. I am going to shell this again. If anyone needs to buy any HDMI encoders, do get in touch. I do have about 70 for sale. Between 70 and 100, I don't know exactly how much off the top of my head. But between 70 and 100 I've got available for sale. And I've got about 16 stock for myself. TDP 158. Right, let's drop my nozzle back on now because I need the nozzle on. It's an easy way to install the retimer. Just like you would install a normal chip, mate. If you've got leaded solder on there, it should be fine. But this is a high temperature area as well. It's a high thermal mass area because of how hot it gets in this area. Flow, solder. Flow. I said flow, you bastard. Thank you. Well, that shot off. Now, there's a lot of excess solder on that chip. It shot off the board by the look of it. I am looking for it, just to make sure it did. It looks like it shot off the board. Right, okay, let's take a look, see. I'll give this a clean. Well, he hadn't pinged off the board, but he just has. That little blob of solder. I was using a bit of isopropyl alcohol with a cotton swab. A toothbrush, sorry, not a cotton swab. Alrighty, that should do it. Oh, ain't she pretty? Ain't she just the most beautiful TDP you've ever seen? It'll do. It'll do. Right, okie dokie. So, before I even do anything, I'm not going to waste thermal paste if I don't get it to work. So, I'm just going to hook up power, attempt to turn it on. If it turns on, then I'll just pull the power straight away. And then put the heatsink on. Comes like a big one. You always make it look easy. That's just practice, mate. And that is... Oh, now it's working. That took a while. But that is working. That is turning on, my friend. So now the question is, does the HDMI work? Because I've got a feeling that ESDIC is bad. And if it is, then sucks to be me. But, yeah. Even though that retimer was reading as 1,000 ohms, or just under 1,000 ohms, it's not a normal reading. So a normal reading will be what I'm getting now. And that is, on C50, 4,800 ohms and climbing. So the reason it's still climbing is because it's hot. The board's still warm. So resistance is going to decrease with heat. As copper expands and contracts, resistance changes. So you're never going to get an accurate reading until the board is completely cooled down and at room temperature. So yeah, 4,800 ohms and climbing is a good reading. Anything over 3,000 ohms realistically is a good reading. But I would expect in the region of around about 10,000 ohms when it comes to the C50 on the HDMI encoder. That's what I would expect for a good reading. Now the question is, I wonder if C14 is reading as open line still. Because C14 should give me a reading. I'm not sure on the resistance reading, but it should be around about 0.5 volt drop to ground in diode mode. Let's just have a look in diode mode, shall we? On C14. C25 is going to match C50 because it's connected to the same line. Ohms or ohms. Yeah, 0.58 volt drop to ground on diode mode. Pin 19, 0.62 volt drop to ground. That is perfect. And pin 18, which is linked to C14, is 0.58 volt drop to ground. Yeah, so that is giving me a good reading on everything now. So the ESD might not be an issue. It might be fine. I hope it's fine. Because otherwise it's going to cost the customer more money. Because you cannot buy them chips. Well, you can. We have had a quote. But for me to change that chip, it's going to cost the customer an extra 60 quid. On top of the cost of the encoder. Because the chip costs 40. We've already been quoted. And the chip, to buy those chips, £40 a chip. The same cheap as chips does not apply to that ESDIC. £40 per chip for that part. It sucks, but it is what it is. But we have had quotes from Texas Instruments, and we've been quoted £40 per chip for those. And that's direct from manufacturer. That's not if you go through something like Mouser or DigiKey or something. But they don't sell them. We had to contact manufacturers directly. Right, let's see if we get a display, shall we? Onto the ugly cam. Ow, that hurt my neck. On to the ugly cam. Please display. It's showing up as 4K. There's no boot logo. There's no boot logo. It's working. Fuck you, CEX. You suck. No, I know what you broke. I know exactly what you broke. Travis did it. By the way, you can get merch at thecoded.live/merch. I want that cup. You can buy that cup from thecoded.live/merch for £7.99. There we go. And there we go. Maybe not. Alright. So we're in 4K, which is good. Travis did it. But as the Xbox just said, it's all good, because we fixed it. You're not getting an update. Bite me. I'm not sitting here downloading 4.5 gig. Fuck you. That's working. Happy days. CEX can't fix shit, I agree. Yeah, so just to summarise then, this was sent in because CEX couldn't fix it. And turns out CEX can't fix shit. No, in seriousness, CEX don't do micro soldering. Even though they claim they do. They don't do micro soldering. They do HDMI ports, but they probably just use the drop method. They don't replace chips. Yeah. Obviously, very simple fix for anyone who is able to do it, or who has the tools. Fairly straightforward to diagnose as well. Check C50. See what your resistance is. You should be getting between 3 and 10k, but closer to 10k normally. Also check C25 and C14 around the ESD IC. And if you're getting open line or high resistance readings, like in the millions of ohms, then you've probably got a bad encoder, and that's probably what's causing no power. So yeah. So yeah, this is going to make a video. And yeah, don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to like. And as always, I hope you learned something.